Well, Mike Angove, it's probably the last time in a little while we'll see you around City Kickboxing now, heading off to China to join the UFC. Just tell us about how this opportunity's come around.
Look, the truth is, and Eugene's an extremely good liar, right, is he got sick and tired of me around the place. And Dean Singer, who heads up the program in China, said, have you got anyone you want to get rid of who's really getting on your nerves? And yeah, and Eugene said, actually, yeah, that Mike guy. He said, I'm sick and tired, I'm doing those little hip thrusts around the gym and his weird shorts and, you know, his over tight shorts and stuff. So yeah, you know, can you create something for him? And yeah, literally Dean was looking for a striking coach, probably at a more junior level, and Huge mentioned it to me, and at that stage it kind of wasn't an option, and I thought about it over the Christmas break, 2020 Christmas break, and I was working in a corporate role, and a good portion of the contract that I was on was coming to an end, and that would have meant I would have had to immerse myself deep back in corporate, and that would have limited my UFC opportunities to travel as a coach. And I think what people don't realise in New Zealand is, although some of the guys are at the point where they're you know, able to earn and sustain a good lifestyle as a fighter, as a coach, it's very difficult to do so. All of us, including Huge, you know, we operate, you know, we run two jobs, at least two jobs. And I was at a stage where I was actually, you know, coaching, corporate role, and also personal training to, you know, to try and keep on top of things. And, you know, when you kind of have family to support, and over the years I've had different opportunities, you know, at age 40, and shortly after my 30th birthday, there was an opportunity to go overseas, which I didn't take. So rather than constantly sneak off from my corporate role to come and watch sparring, or, you know, time my meeting so I had half an hour to come and, you know, watch some videotape, this meant I'd be full-time as a coach, and with an opportunity to develop as a coach. And it's like fighting. If you're not coaching and pad holding all the time, you don't broaden your skill set. You don't 100% dedicate yourself to it. And so this is an opportunity to do that. You know, and the links back to City Kickboxing are obviously always there. You know, there's always that connection. We're always exchanging ideas, and that's not going to change. We've known each other for 30 years, our coaching team, in some cases. So, you know, that doesn't go away because I'm off to China for a couple of years.
How did you feel about making that decision? How long did it take you to say yes?
Yeah, it's a difficult one. With the offer, once the offer came, it didn't take me too long, because I'd thought about it a lot before I made the application. But yeah, it's difficult. I've got kids here, and unfortunately China's got a hold on dependence visas, so it means my boys can't come, so that's difficult. Yeah, and I've got, you know, family here, father's here, partners here, so all those things are not easy. By the same token, doing a half-assed corporate role, you know, not giving full commitment to that, and, you know, not going up the financial chain as you should, versus, you know, being full-time in a role, which is, you know, which has got a decent package associated with it, and, you know, that's only going to progress, means, you know, I'm able to commit to the family more. So yeah, difficult, emotional, but necessary. And if, as I said, it's kind of like last chance saloon, and very few people have the opportunity to work in their passion. You know, they go through life doing something they don't fucking enjoy because they have to do it. Now I'm in a position where I can both look after my family and do something I can enjoy, and that doesn't have an immediate ceiling to what you know, I'm capable of achieving, and still continue to give back. So that's, yeah, that's a very long-winded way of saying I gave it a lot of consideration. It wasn't easy, and that's why I'm doing what I'm doing.
For people who might not know you in sort of your fighting background sense, more as just the guy who promotes literally everything combat sports in New Zealand to us all, can you just give us a little bit of background? Obviously a former kickboxing world champion and everything else that goes with it.
Yeah, look, I was lucky enough to be in the right place at the right time and get a title, but more importantly, I was around in the halcyon days of you know, K1 when Ray Seffel was at his peak. Mark Hunt, you know, won the K1. Adam White, who's an Australian fighter, got over there and did well. You know, Ronnie Seffo won world titles. Jason Suddy, you know, who started off as a light heavyweight, made his way up to super heavyweight, won, you know, multiple world titles. Doug Viney got through into the final 16 in the world, fought Badahari with a broken jaw, and he also made the Olympics. You know, at a time when in boxing, Regan Foley, Faifala Moe, Garth De Silva are all ranked in the top 5 in the world as amateurs, and that was a time when we were at our peak. And there's many more: Jason Vermeer, Jojo Ankagias, Alex Tui, so many guys who aren't household names now because the marketing opportunities weren't there, but they're every bit as good as the guys who are there today. So I was fortunate to be around in the time of Achilles. If you go with the old Ulysses, you know, the story of Sparta, I was around in the time of the Kiwi warrior kings, including Marcelino Marseille, David Tua, Shane Cameron. Thanks, Mace, for breaking my rib. You know, and that's why, those guys are why we are going through this period now. You know, I was there actually taking a class when Eugene came in for his first kickboxing class. I think he wanted to leave straight away because I was doing some hip thrusting exercises, but you know, you got to make an impression, eh? But that's why we're where we are today. The knowledge that came from Philip Lamb through to Lolo Hemori, Wayne Vaenga, you know, transferred through to, you know, Ray, who's at Randy Couture, Jason Vermeer, who's at Kyokushin at the moment in Japan, transferred through me, Doug, Eugene, Trish from Apikatoa, who's probably the sharpest brain in New Zealand right now, and Andre's come on board, Adam Johnson's come on board. That's a whole lot of fight knowledge combined with a really good coaching system and coaching brains that have brought us to where we are now. So yeah, I've been, you know, lucky to be a part of that, to ride on the coattails to that. And as I said, now I finally actually get a chance to exercise a bit of a dream and be a full-time coach with one of the premier organisations in the world, you know, at the home of martial arts, which is kind of weird. You know, wasn't it where it all started? And now we're going over to teach them how to throw kicks and punches. So that's it's a big opportunity. It's a very honourable opportunity to represent New Zealand, which is what we all do on the world stage, and make a mark. And you know, Eugene wasn't joking the other day, might have been about me, but not about the other guys, saying that we have world-class coaches. And that's not just in our little gym. We have other world-class coaches in New Zealand. You know, we can make our mark as coaches and as fighters, and wear our silver fan, if you like.
Have you looked into much about the PI where you're going to? Any of the fighters there that caught your eye so far?
Oh, look, there's lots of raw athletic talent there. I think they've come late into MMA. They've got a good MMA circuit over there now, but the evolution of MMA is probably about 10 years behind when it started, from where it started perhaps in the US in 1993. And so in the US, they were fortunate they had Rory and Gracie go over, you know, UFC 1, blah, 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 Zuffa era, now Endeavour era. All that has been well documented, and there's been a trajectory. You know, Japan had Pride as well, and their Shuto started earlier. In China, it was Sanda, you know, Wushu Sanda, but that didn't really have the ground game so much. And so that's something that they're catching up on there. And, you know, doing so really, really quickly, massive athletic talent. And the UFC's obviously recognising that, you know, so many billion people can't be wrong. You know, it's a big market. And and it's an enormous continent. You know, you think of the stereotypical Asian as being small, but when you think it goes all the way through from, you know, right out to the edges of sort of Kazakhstan, Mongolia, and right the way through, there's a whole range of people of different sizes there as well. So, you know, this massive untapped talent pool, which is going to explode. So Dean Amarsinger there has headed up top professional athletics teams previously, and so now his role is really putting a process and a team in place that can foster that kind of professional environment. And it's the biggest you know, facility in the world of its type. I think it's 93,000 square meters, which ain't bad. So yeah, that's pretty cool. And to hedge a question that I know you're going to ask, my Chinese is almost non-existent, apart from Ni Hao and Xie Xie, and that's it. So yeah, we're going to have to work through interpreters, and I'm going to have to do a lot of visual demonstrations, so that's going to be a challenge. But yeah, let's see how we go.
And Eugene said that you're probably the most studious coach in the gym, the most sort of attentive to detail. Can you just tell us about that and how much tape you would normally watch for a fight?
Look, we all watch tape, and I actually think Tristram probably watches the most tape of the lot of us, and is the best brain. But yeah, we're all fight nerds. What people don't realise when he was saying that, there's an in-joke that I said to Eugene, because I can get a little bit right into the detail and spend a whole lesson on toe placement. He wasn't joking. It's actually, I can get obsessed, you know, the OCD sets in. So that's a bit of an in-joke around the gym. And as a coach, you have to balance that with actually, you know, let them flow, let them go, let them bang. So there's an element of that in there that's a little bit tongue-in-cheek. But yeah, I'm an analyst, I'm a fight nerd. And the background which, you know, I have in the corporate world and journalism and being able to write as well also lends itself to being in kind of a professional corporate environment, which is what it is in the PI. You know, you need to be able to write down syllabus, to lesson plan, you know, and to put concepts down on paper as well as in your head. So in that respect, yeah, it helps being a nerd. Yeah, but yeah, he wasn't being complimentary, let's be fair.
Is that something you've already started thinking about, or your lesson planning and the syllabus?
So we're already down the road there in draft formats for those kinds of things. The thing is, how do I put this without being disrespectful? I think at a foundation level, there's still plenty of work to do to take the next step from the raw talent and operating just purely in fight zone, you know, and kind of bite down on the mouth guard and the superior athlete wins, whether it's power or timing or fitness, to bring in the elements of strategy and refined fight IQ at a slightly higher level. That said, you know, the guys there are already thinking that way. They're already well down that path. So this is just adding a nice layer on top that they're able to utilise. And being a specialist, I'm able to go into some of that finer detail, which allows them to work on, you know, where their strengths are. You know, in Dean's case, he comes from a really great wrestling background as well as MMA. You know, or they've got a boxing coach who specialise in boxing on its own. So, you know, it just allows the facility to do that. So, yeah, hopefully I can offer something there, and both at the developmental level and as I say, at the higher level, you know, strategically.
I mean, you're leaving before Christmas, but there's a few guys in the gym who have fights coming up in the next few months. I assume you've been working pretty hard with them, and will that continue when you move over?
Look, as I say, the ties aren't cutting. You know, the fight brains is still available. The analysis is very much available, and that's one thing that I guess lockdown has shown us, that you're able to operate remotely more effectively. You know, obviously location makes that difficult, but you know, we keep up the communication lines and the involvement when it comes to, you know, those specific areas. But obviously my focus is also on providing that same level of passion and you know, detail and focus on the Chinese fighters as well, and you know, facilitating their rise to you know, UFC level. So yeah, so and the short answer is yes, but obviously I have to, you know, make sure that the Chinese guys are first priority.
And heading to Shanghai, is there anything outside of work that you're looking forward to getting out to do?
Nah, to be honest, you know, that is what it is. I think you will find that most of us here are a little OCD, or, you know, if we're not Asperger's, we're ADHD, so therefore we have hyperfocus. So I'm interested in the job. Whatever comes with Shanghai comes with Shanghai. But my immediate issues are getting the job done, doing a good job, and you know, and then retaining connections with my family and providing for the family. But yeah, I mean, Shanghai is a modern city. Apparently it's superb. I'm sure it'll come with a whole lot of bells and whistles. But my first focus is not going to be getting lost from wherever I'm living in Shanghai, and learning the way to get to the PI. You know, it's very difficult in countries where you don't have signage in English. So that's the first thing. And the second thing is, because it's a communist country, you know, I can't just go Google Maps. I actually have to go through the Chinese system. So I'm going to need to learn to recognise some basic stuff. So maybe ask me in 6 months how we're going on that.
Yeah, that sounds like a bit of fun. Obviously, outside of family and all the ties you have here, what's one thing you'll miss most about New Zealand?
My family.
Yeah, nothing else?
I won't miss Eugene Bareman. because he is just a horrible specimen of a man. You know, his failed athletic endeavours over life have been, you know, a constant source of disappointment to him, and his, you know, his constant claims of athletic superiority. You know, I'm just looking forward to not having to continually disprove him and, you know, and break his spirit on a daily basis. That's probably the main thing. That I'm actually just looking forward to getting away from that pressure of, you know, having to prop him up. You know, it's been a struggle over, you know, the last few years. But on a serious note, you know, we're a very tight group of coaches, and it's difficult to have a group of coaches together like that, who are at a high level, and not have the egos get too much involved. You know, I'm right, you're wrong, blah, blah, blah. To be able to meld in ideas, to be comfortable, you know, expressing what you want to express, but also comfortable that, you know, that may not fit into the game plan for whatever reason. You know, that's hard, and that's a bond that's difficult to break. Same with the fighters here. I mean, we know it's your family. We're family. You know, I mean, there's certain cousins of this family that are a pain in the ass, but we're all family, you know. So, you know, that's something that's difficult to move away from. And then obviously, you know, my own family, but so everything is difficult. None of that decision comes easy. And you know, the fact that I'm now only, you know, 5 or 6 days away from leaving, reality bites, you know. There's so much to do, so little time to do it. So yeah, I'm at the point where I either keep busy to try and keep going, or I'll sit down and I'll have you know, emotional moments. So yeah, not easy.
I guess on the flip side of that, you'd have to be pretty excited about the opportunity and getting to work with such raw talent. I guess to be tasked with getting them up to that next level.
Yeah, I mean, yeah, obviously. As I say, it's very few people have the opportunity to work their passion. You know, and now I have an opportunity to, in some respects, you know, be at the tiller, certainly in the striking side of a pretty big ship. So that's exciting. It's a daunting responsibility as well. You know, the objective is to get these guys to elite level, and so that is a combination of excitement, acceptance of a challenge, and a little bit of yeah, you're a little bit nervous about that as well, because there's a lot of dynamics that are involved in it. But yeah, it is what it is. Now we just got to go and do it. You know, I mean, shit, living the dream. I've cornered at world titles in K1 in its heyday. I have called and commentated K1 at its height when Mark Hunt won. You know, iconic fights, Mark Hunt versus Ray Cephalo, Mark Hunt versus Jerome LeBanner, you know, Ray when he got through into the finals. You know, I have commentated with Bob Sheridan, you know, who's a living historic icon of boxing. I've commentated world title fights, boxing world title fights, kickboxing world title fights at the elite level. I've travelled around the world. You know, I've cornered at UFC world titles, you know, in the biggest fucking stadiums in the world. And now I get to go to China and teach martial arts. When I look at it like that, I'm going, people would bite off their left testicle to be able to do that, you know? And I'm like, fuck, that's actually pretty cool. But the other part of me that's like, oh yeah, okay. I have to actually take a moment to take stock and go, wow, that's pretty cool. And that's something to be proud of. At the same time, is keeping it in perspective and going, yeah, I'm just a Kiwi boy, got a job to do, let's go and do it. I think that's part of our success as Kiwis as well, on the world stage. You know, when we're out in the midst of tens of thousands of people, of nearly 60,000 people, of nearly 90,000 people in Tokyo Dome, and you know, in Vegas, and we're in the midst of all that fucking bedlam, you have to remember it's no different from the fight at the pub, you know, when you're cornering a first fighter, because ultimately you're there to punch the guy more than they punch you, to kick the guy more than they punch you, to outdo him in the grappling. And it doesn't matter all the other shit if you don't win. And so yeah, that low-key element, I think, can serve you quite well, because if you get overhyped, that takes away from you, as a coach, it takes away from you as a fighter. So it has to be reflection that you go, wow, but in the moment you have to be low-key. And that's, you know, that's a struggle, something I struggle with at times.
Alrighty, well, that's probably all the time we need to take off your hands today. Thank you very much, as always, and hope all goes well over there.
Yeah. All I can say is to New Zealand, I do hope you take the time to appreciate the level that these guys are at. Whether it's hooker fighting, Makhachev recently wasn't the result we wanted, but that is at the elite level in the world. Kai Kara-France now put himself in title shot. Israel Adesanya, elite. You know, Brad Riddell, you know, he and Fiziev, I think, are the best strikers in lightweight. Elite. That's how high these guys are. So win or lose, they are operating at such an elite level, as are other guys in Bellator in particular. At the moment, I hope we appreciate just how good these guys are, just how good the coaches are, and understand that that is such an incredible achievement, and as a nation we should be proud.